Hello, I'm Linda Ann Smith, and I'm going to show you today how I painted an abstract ocean with silk acrylic glazes and golden tar gel. Stay tuned because I'm going to tell you how you can win some of the same kinds of Silks acrylic glazes that I used in this video. Boo! Okay, that probably didn't scare you, but the blank canvas or the white page sure scares a lot of us. In my studio, I take all the tubes that are about to run out of paint and all the bottles, and I dump them onto a blank canvas just to give myself a background. And that's what I've done here. I had some bottles that were almost empty, and I just covered it over with paint and dabbed it a little bit here and there so that I would have some texture on it, and you can see that texture built up there. So I don't have a blank canvas to start with, and there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to drizzle golden clear tar gel all over my canvas today. When I think of doing a project like this, I think of Jackson Pollock, who was an American abstract expressionism painter. The tar gel dries clear, but if you don't have any, try working with Elmer's glue all. I'll be using Silks Acrylic Glazes today. I chose all of my colors from the cool side of the color wheel: Guatemalan green, teal zircon, blue flame, cool water, silver bells, African jade, mallard green, moss green, and sea spray. I also added one Primary Elements artist pigment to my palette. The color is rusted bloom, and it will look like a warm color when placed beside these colors that I've chosen. I'm taking a hint from Jackson Pollock here and dipping the handle end of my brush into the tar gel and then drizzling the tar gel all over the canvas. Not nearly as energetic as Jackson Pollock was. He would get very involved, interactive with his paintings, and even to the point of punching a hole in a bucket and slinging the paint across the canvas. It looks like I'm going slow, but this is actually in fast forward motion. It drizzles off the end of the paint brush very slowly. I'm not as expressive and random as Jackson Pollock because I'm making a deliberate effort to make smaller lines in the areas at the top of the canvas, thinner, smaller areas, and larger, clumpier spaces as you come forward at the bottom of the canvas. Let me explain that. Here you see three trees resting on little plots of grass. Tree A is higher on the canvas. The bottom of the tree is higher on the canvas than tree B and C. C is the one that is closest to the viewer because it comes further down on the page at the bottom. Also, you get bolder lines and more detail as you come from tree A to B to C. This is simple perspective for anyone doing landscapes or still life, but I'm keeping this in mind as I place my lines on my canvas, getting more bold as I go towards the front of the canvas, even though this is an abstract composition. A couple of hints about this tar gel. One of the things that happens if you shake it before you use it is it bubbles up. Now, if you want that effect, that's just fine, but you're going to have to let it sit for several hours if it bubbles up before you can get those bubbles out of it. So, you know, if you absolutely have to mix it in some way, if you feel obligated, then just shake it side to side gently, especially if you're mixing a color with it. You could mix any of the colors with this and come out with a tinted tar gel. But my canvas is already painted in the background, so you're going to be able to see through the clear tar gel to the color that I have on my canvas. I have this canvas turned upside down to me and right side up to you, so I'm working to make some of these areas thicker on the area that would be closest to you. This is a hot Oklahoma summer day, so I'm going to place this outdoors to dry in the sun, and it won't take but just probably less than an hour for this to be completely dry. The tar gel's clear now because it's completely dry, and I brought it in and started painting in some of the areas. I decided to pull out one warm color to go with these. I chose Rusted Bloom in Primary Elements, which is a powdered pigment, and I'm mixing that with the Primary Elements Clear Glaze Medium. So in addition to the cool colors that I'm laying down right now, and I already showed you that group, I'm going to add that one warm color to my palette. And just like I drizzled the tar gel all over the canvas, I'm going to work all over the canvas, balancing the colors also. So this tar gel actually makes a border so that they don't run together when they're wet. Sometimes you want blending, sometimes you don't. Colors are looking very soft and pretty on this background. And when I added the moss green color, that's the color that you see there that looks a little bit yellowish, it brings in some warmth, because if you remember your grade school color theory, yellow plus blue makes green, and so the moss green has enough yellow in it that it looks warm beside all the other colors. And of course I began with that lavender mauve color in the background. Now that background color was a flat acrylic based paint. It doesn't have the mica in it that the Color Art products do. And so it makes a good base for this, but this is just going to shimmer like crazy when I get through with it. It's going to look very pretty. I realize it's not always easy to see the tar gel on the camera, but I'm just coloring in the spaces that the tar gel made when it crisscrossed over each other as I was drizzling it onto the canvas. So it kind of has a fractured look to it. When you first put on Silk Acrylic Glazes, you're going to find that it's like a wash. It's a thin glaze. That's what a glaze is. It's a thin layer. And as you add more layers, it becomes richer and deeper. So you can make that decision as you go. Do you want to add more layers? I'm particularly big on layers when I'm doing water. I like layers anytime. But it will look, and the more layers I build, the more it will look like you are looking down into the water through the clear layers of color. It may appear that I'm painting randomly, just any color anywhere on the canvas, but I'm keeping in mind that I want my color balanced, that I want it to be stronger as it comes forward, as I mentioned that before. I keep the rules of composition and perspective in mind as I paint. When you look at the final results, I want your eye just to dance across the page and come back and find the center of interest. The ability to see through the layers when you add one color on top of a different color is one of the neat characteristics about Silk Acrylic Glazes.